What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another round of the Quarantine Chronicles. Today we're going to talk about box squatting. Is it good? Is it bad? Should you do it? And should you use it for your athletes? A high prevalence of box squatting is found generally in the football weight room or into the average goer's gym. The box squat itself does have relevance in the strength and conditioning realm, although most of the time it's not done correctly. What you'll see is people load up the bar, sit down on whatever implement they're doing, rock back, and then come back up. This is an incorrect usage of the box squat. The box that's used should be set at parallel. You should never sit down with the entire load on your back, allowing it to compress your spine. That box should be used as a point in space, whereas you're descending down in the squat, you should use it just barely to touch and come right back up. As soon as you feel the fabric of your shorts touching that box, you should come back up. It should be used as a marker to allow for depth, not an implement to sit on with a bunch of load on your back compressing all those discs. This is why I'm not a fan of the box squat when it's used incorrectly. All those jelly-filled intervertebral discs are bearing the load, compressing downwards on the spine, which could lead to injury, bulgings, or herniations. This needs to be avoided at all costs. When used correctly, they can be programmed in sparingly, and I'll highlight the reasons why coming up shortly. Another reason why I'm not a fan of box squats and why strength coaches should avoid them is because it leads to shallow squatting. This is because shallow squats lead to maximal ACL loading. As we know, ACL injuries have a high prevalence in all sports. It also leads to making athletes quad dominant. Now, quad dominant means you've created an imbalance where your quads have more strength, more innervation, more activation than the posterior aspects such as the hamstring and glutes. It also only works on the concentric part of the lift, meaning the coming upwards of the lift. Now, you can program this in if that's the goal of your training, is to increase the concentric jump or the concentric explosion upwards. It can be used sparingly, but when using box squats, they amplify that concentric only. You interrupt the stretch shortening cycle, which has an eccentric phase, an isometric phase, and a concentric phase. This is paramount in increasing the explosive characteristics of your athletes. You rob your athletes of that when you allow them to sit down, extend the isometric phase, and amplify the concentric phase. The stretch reflex occurs when you have the transition between the eccentric portion and the concentric portion, so going down and coming up. This is what's going to allow you to be a better athlete. The stretch reflex is like that rubber band we've been talking about, where you stretch it and it pops back. We want that pop. That's your explosiveness. Again, touching back on creating the imbalance between anterior and posterior. What research shows is by increasing posterior strength, meaning the glutes, the hamstrings, the back, you can increase something called posterior chain kinematics. And the reason this is important is because you can increase tangential velocity of what you're trying to do, which is essentially an object rotating about a fixed point, which i.e. turns into us throwing harder, us kicking harder, us running faster. So I'll leave you with the question of why would you rob your athletes of that posterior chain kinematic development? Also creating imbalances between anterior and posterior, creating a quad dominant athlete. The nature of this quad dominant imbalance will inevitably lead to injury, which the number one goal of a strength coach is injury prevention. In talking about that posterior chain development, what research also shows is that maximal hamstring innervation doesn't occur till post 90 degrees, meaning the athlete has to get below parallel, at or below parallel, to get that posterior side activation to its highest amount. I hope this information has helped you as a strength coach or you as an athlete program for yourself as you're going through your workouts. If you'd like to discuss this further or have any help or insight within your own programming, email me, jeff@njfast.com. Check out our website, njfast.com. Continue to follow us on social media at njfast or give us a call, 732-251-5224. See you guys tomorrow.